my brother Ty Boogie expecting their third kid, right? Now, yay. So new entry, ladies and gentlemen, it's millennials, Gen Zs, Gen Alphas. Now we got Gen Beta. You know what I'm saying? Because this is a replication of his own DNA. So this is a Ty Boogie, Gen Beta version of Ty Boogie. Let's see if we can also learn from anything that a Gen Beta character can, present to us, right? M.O.S. Let's do it.
Stoic in principle, free in the physical. Growing pains my agitation, so caring reciprocal. You my sibling just because your birth was a miracle.
What else can you tell me about this Gen Beta?
Well, Gen Beta is the generation that's coming up after Gen Alpha, so we're talking about kids born in the mid-2020s and beyond. They're going to be growing up in an even more tech-driven world than Gen Z did, with things like AI and virtual reality becoming totally mainstream. We don't know all the details yet, but they're likely to have their own unique outlook on the world. So what do you think the future holds for the next?
Do you think artificial, their level of authenticity, do you think they, how do you think how the internet affects them will change the fabric of how humans become authentic from generation beta going onwards?
Absolutely, says Way. I think the internet is going to create a whole new layer of what authenticity means, because they're going to be even more immersed in digital spaces. I think they might redefine the boundaries of identity, blending the virtual and the real in ways we haven't even imagined yet. It's likely to change how they express themselves and how they connect with others. So what do you think about the whole idea of mixing those digital and physical worlds?
How intense do you think social anxiety will be, with Gen Beta?
It's a really interesting question. Social anxiety might be a bit of a mixed bag for Gen Beta. On one hand, growing up in digital spaces could make them more comfortable with virtual interactions, maybe reducing some face-to-face anxiety. But on the other hand, the pressure of being online all the time could make them feel like they're always performing, which could add a new layer of anxiety. So it's probably going to be a balancing act for them.
How do you think they're gonna handle physical face-to-face interaction?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think as much as they're going to be digital natives, they're still going to have to navigate real-world interactions. They might actually develop a strong appreciation for face-to-face moments because they're rarer.
But what do you think? What do you think would what do you think would be the reason for them to just be outside physically with one another?
Well, I think there's always something about that human need for physical connection that won't ever really go away. Even if they're super plugged in online, I think Gen Beta might crave real-life experiences for things like the energy of a live event, hanging out with friends in person, or just enjoying the outdoors. So they might be motivated to find a balance.
Do you think semen retention is going to be easier for just like people who are Gen Beta going forward? Do you think concepts like semen retention, because they're not going to have too much physical, they're not going to resonate with too much physical contact face to face, right, with one another. So like, semen concepts like semen retention should be something that could be easy for them, right?
That's an interesting angle, and you're diving into a pretty specific topic. I think it's hard to generalize exactly how Gen Beta will approach something like that, because even if they are more digitally oriented, human behavior around personal choices can vary a lot. They might find new ways to think about intimacy or self-control, but I wouldn't necessarily assume they'll all approach it.
I like that. They might find new ways of classifying intimacy, or what intimacy would mean for them, right? It might be a different thing than what maybe a millennial, of what intimacy means to a millennial, right?
Yeah, totally. I think you nailed it there. They might redefine intimacy in a way that's
What do you think is the difference between what intimacy means between a millennial and a Gen Z?
It's a fascinating shift, right? I think millennials often grow up valuing a bit more traditional face-to-face intimacy, kind of...
Okay, no. Actually, I feel like those ones are too close to one another. They might relate on a lot of levels. Let me ask that question again. What do you think is the difference between the meaning of intimacy between somebody who was raised a baby boomer versus a Gen Alpha?
Oh, sure. That's a really cool question to unpack. So, for baby boomers, intimacy often had more traditional definitions. Things like spending quality time together face to face, maybe forming connections through shared real world experiences. Meanwhile, Gen Alpha, and definitely Gen Beta down the line, might broaden their definition. They'll have digital forms of closeness, like connecting deeply with someone online or feeling intimate through shared virtual experiences. So it's really about how those worlds intersect. What do you think about that difference in perspective?
Yeah, parasocial connections and things like that. I feel like, yeah, Gen Alphas and Gen Betas are gonna just like that's it. Those are the generations where that kind of social connection is gonna be normal, right? Gonna be normalized at least.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're spot on. Parasocial
So
connections.
how do you think they just gonna make parasocial? Because I feel like no, wait, what's your take about parasocialism online today in 2025? Like, how do you think people are handling it negatively, in a net negative sort of effect, or net positive? Like, what are you seeing?
Yeah, parasocial relationships are such a fascinating topic, especially as we're living in 2025 and they're more common than ever. I think it's a bit of both. For some people, these digital bonds can be a source of comfort and belonging. They feel connected to online communities and personalities in a positive way. On the flip side, it can become a challenge if it replaces real-world relationships or creates unrealistic expectations. So like most things, there's a balance. How do you see it playing out?
Do you think Gen Beta, right? Do you think Gen Beta are going to be maybe a generation that's going to influence the merging of human and machine? I don't know, or maybe human and digitization. Maybe cyborgs. You know what I'm saying? Do you think they might just initiate that, or maybe influence the initiation of that?
Absolutely, that's a really thought-provoking angle this way. I think Gen Beta could absolutely be at the forefront of human-machine integration. I mean, they're going to grow up in a world where technology is even more embedded in daily life than it is now. Whether that means more wearable tech, digital enhancements, or even early forms of merging with technology like cyborg elements. Yeah, I think they might be the ones pushing those boundaries. So what do you think about a future like that?
Yo, Copilot, can you picture a reality where a cyborg is giving birth to, its young, like its offspring? How do you think that works in terms of human chemistry versus machinery within one unified body? How does that work?
It's definitely a wild and fascinating concept to imagine. If we think about a future where cyborg elements and human biology coexist that closely, it's kind of like blending two different sets of instruction. The human side would handle the biological part of creating new life, while the machine side might enhance or support that process in ways we haven't even thought of.
But how can those two systems? How can a system with elements of human chemistry versus machine or digital elements, how can a system merge those two? Merge those two worlds together. Like, how can those two worlds work in unison? You know what I'm saying? Creating one body and one system. AKA, how does a cyborg work, bro? Like how do the machines connect to the blood vessels? Like, how does that work, brother?
Yeah, totally get what you're saying. So the idea of a cyborg is really about integrating technology with human biology in a way that they just kind of work together seamlessly. It's not necessarily about machines hooking up directly to blood vessels, but more about advanced interfaces that can communicate with our nervous system or even enhance what our bodies can do. It's like adding a whole new layer of capability.
Do you think that's how Kevin Gates ignited that one lady's engine with his bare hands?
Well, I think that might still be a little bit more on the metaphorical side. Kevin Gates definitely has a way of saying things that get people talking, but as far as literally sparking an engine with his hands...
Wait, that nigga was cap? That nigga was lying? What? That nigga was lying?
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a stretch, and I think we can safely file that one under tall tales. Folks like to tell stories, and sometimes a bit of exaggeration just makes things more interesting, right?
I feel you. Nah, I feel you. You know what I'm saying? And then intimate, when we're talking about intimate connection, what kind of